Hello and welcome back to another video. So of late I have been receiving a lot of questions around how to ace the interview, the job interview, especially if you are a beginner fresh out of college or if you have maybe a couple of years of experience. So I'm going to maybe walk you through a few tips that I feel personally over the last 20 odd years, whatever interviews I have taken, I have learned a lot from those tips while I have interviewed people and wherever I have, wherever I got a chance to appear for an interview myself. So I'm going to divide this into broadly three steps. One is prepare, the second is appear, and the third is reflect. So before we go ahead, a quick request: if you have not yet followed my channel, please do follow my channel, subscribe to it as well, and click on the notification icon so that every time I release a new video, you will be notified about it. Yeah, don't forget to share this video with your friends as well. So let's get going. So let's begin with the prepare stage. So before we actually appear for the interview, it's important that you learn as much as possible about the company that you're appearing this interview for. It makes you feel confident. It makes the person who's interviewing you or the panel who's interviewing you, it makes them feel appreciated that you have come prepared and you're not just blindly sitting there for your interview. Do your homework well and understand what position you're being interviewed for. What is the overall impact? What is the criticality of that position in the company? What are they looking at in terms of expectations from you while you're sitting there and appearing for the interview? This brings us to the appear stage. Now, I'm sure those who have not had a lot of experience attending interviews will feel butterflies in their stomach at this particular stage. It's obvious, it's normal to feel a little nervous, it's normal to be apprehensive about this interview, but with proper preparation, I can assure you that when you're sitting across the table, you will feel and sound confident to the panel. How do you prepare is most important. So once your preparations are done, let's see what are the likely questions you're likely to face while you're appearing for this interview. The first and most commonly asked opening question is, tell me a little bit about yourself. From my experience, I can very clearly tell you that the first three sentences that you say after the interview panel has stopped asking the question are really going to make the first impact. Do not be taken away by the temptation to start answering this question by, my name is Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar and I live in Bandra from Mumbai and I am 24 years old. Don't make that mistake. Everybody knows on the panel who you are, what's your age, where you stay. Like you have done their homework, they have done their homework as well, right? So it's important to stick to a very crisp and clear opening line. To make it very simple, I would say give the panel what they're asking for or what they're looking for. The main intent that they're sitting there to interview you is that they have an ask and give them an answer that they're looking for in the first three sentences, which would, let's say, for example, I would say, I am Sachin and I have a bachelor's degree in computer engineering or electronics engineering or arts or commerce or whatever you want to say. And I sit here in front of you with 2 years of experience. I've developed certain skills in the following key areas. List out those key areas based on your technical side. And you can also add, I have been known by my team to be a great team player and problem solver. What this does is it actually positions you well for your key area that you're trying to apply for. It lists out your skills and areas of competence very clearly in front of the panel, and they start looking forward to actually hearing more from you, right? So this is a great way to open your introduction. A pro tip from my side is that if you hesitate or if you try to build up this introduction as you think, it is not going to leave a good first impression. So write it down on a piece of paper, list it out in terms of what competencies and areas of key skill that you hold, and mug it up. I would recommend you to really mug it up. You should be able to narrate your introduction, which is not more than 3 sentences, in one breath without going too fast or too slow and sounding suspicious about yourself. So it has to come out naturally, let it flow very naturally, but at the same time, it has to be flawless. Yeah, that has to leave the right kind of first impression. As you go along in the interview, there are bound to be a lot of other questions around the answer to the previous question. So if you've answered a specific technical acumen as your specialty, be prepared to get drilled down on those questions and those answers specifically, so that they would like to know more about your specific skills. At least I would do so if I was given an answer in that particular fashion. I'm going to cover in the next few minutes maybe top 2 or 3 questions that usually uh, are being asked by interviewers to experienced or non-experienced candidates. One of the common questions that you will find is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Right. So either it is a common question joined together, or these are 2 separate questions. So list out your strengths or list out your weaknesses. I have seen a lot of people very you know boldly and listing out that I do not have a weakness. It is absolutely fine to sit in front of the panel and say you do not have a weakness, and you're pretty confident about it as well when you say, but it is very rarely possible and it is very rarely accepted by the panel. So here's a tip. What you can do is that when you're asked about your strengths, you can list out your strengths in such a way that they actually cover the job description that has been sent to you before the interview for that particular position. So, commonly people are looking for a person who's perseverant, who's very dedicated, and who looks forward to work on a day-to-day basis, who's able to really address challenges that come along the way, and who's able to really take things in his or her own stride and make things happen. So if you can create a paragraph or maybe a 4 or 5 sentences that will cover your strengths, always remember you will need to substantiate these strengths with certain examples that really demonstrate that these are your strengths. Moving to the weaknesses, like I said, don't start by saying I do not have any weaknesses. So leave that to the panel to decide whether what your answer is it actually a weakness or is it a disguised strength? I would love to hear an answer which says, I am a very passionate achiever. I believe in myself, and what that has led me to in the past is, whether you're a college student, you can, if you're a college student, you can refer to one of your team projects. If you're not a college student and you have certain amount of experience, you could probably refer to one of your past job, and maybe a project that you were doing during that time. You could say, I am a believer in myself and I like to take control of things, and thereby I have been taking up a lot of ownership and responsibility, and have not been delegating so much. So you could probably say that delegating my uh, tasks to others is one of where I lack a little bit, and I'm working on that in terms of making sure that the overall goal of the organization is kept in the center, and we are looking to achieve that. And that kind of comes out in a very positive sense, but you're highlighting it as a weakness. The second weakness you could actually talk about is that I would say I'm very analytical in nature, so I like to understand uh, the situation in much detail or depth before I start really working on it. And I like to go about executing my plans or projects in a very structured manner that allow me to, then take take stock of the situation or understand progress in a better way. So you could say that I start slow because I want to make sure that I have completely understood the problem, or I am a slow executor of the project. But I see myself in a different light over here because I believe that if I have understood or grasped the project in a better way, it helps me, counter any challenges that are likely to come during the course of the project. So this is a second weakness that you could actually pivot and position as a strength in a disguised way. The next commonly asked question is, why should we hire you? And it's not it's not a ticket for you to go ahead and brag. So don't start off by talking about yourself or your skills or how you're good and how the others are not good. Don't do that. I think the best way to approach this particular question is to demonstrate how the company is going to benefit by having you on board. You will have to work this out very, very clearly in the time of your preparation to understand the pain points that the market is facing in which this company operates, understand the pain points that this particular customer is facing because of its competition, or understand what are the technological challenges that this particular company is facing because of its current positioning in the market, and demonstrate how you're going to be contributing towards the growth of this organization. And that should, in the mind, actually check each and every box that the panel has sat down with, basically when they have laid out the requirements for the candidate. So it should be an answer that they are looking for and not what you want to talk about yourself. The next question, again, very commonly asked, mostly during the final stages of the interview. It's, why did you leave your last job? Now this could be a tricky one for people who are going for an interview without an experience. They don't really have to bother too much about it, but it's a good information to carry, and it's a good frame of mind to have as well. So while you start to talk about or answer that question, always remember, do not badmouth your previous company. Don't say bad things about the previous company, even though you may have feelings of being cheated or you're carrying an impression of that company not living up to its expectations or commitments. It's perfectly all right. This new company does not have to really see that side of your previous employer. You could probably say that, I played my role in that company to an extent where I thought, I have been serving justice and doing adding value to the process. But I felt that my skills were not being put to full use. There was a lot of other things that I thought I could have done, where because of limitations of product, technology, market positioning, competition, I was not able to do. So I'm looking to switch to enhance my career, my skills, and thereby also contribute towards the growth of the organization that I will be joining. That's a very good way of positioning yourself as an asset for the previous company and for the next company as well. One question that the panelists would ask is, describe a situation where you faced a challenge and how did you solve it. Uh, Now this could apply to both freshers as well as experienced candidates. How you need to approach this question is in a very structured way. You, rather than talking about yourself, which is 80% of the times I have seen candidates do. There's nothing wrong in doing that, but it sounds like unrealistically positioned, frame of sentence, I would say. So I would go about answering this question as, first you list out the challenge that the panel has asked you. Make it clear that this was the challenge that came to you. Describe the state or the frame that the challenge came to you, whether it was a new challenge, a fresh challenge, or was it partly handled by someone, or was it in tatters, so that the client is virtually standing at your doorstep, and you're going to face the music. So make that particular part clear. Then, how did you analyze that particular challenge? What were the steps that you took to understand the 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 problem creator, the solution, and the plan to execute it? And when you're defining the plan to execute it, make sure you kind of circle certain key aspects of your job profile in the plan. You need to highlight things like how, as a key player, you took decisions at critical junctures. At how did you make sure that the ownership of the problem was correctly identified and the problem was resolved and closed. And finally, how you communicated to the client in terms of whatever challenge. Now, it could be an internal client or an external client, doesn't matter, as long as you're focusing on the problem and making sure that you're communicating clearly to the panel as how you contributed in solving the entire problem. The next question usually follows the previous question, and it very clearly would obviously talk about a failure that you've faced in your career so far. And it need not necessarily be in a working career, it could be in your academic career as well. Here again, the panel is trying to understand your values of how you approach a particular situation. Are you in complete denial? Are you looking at not owning any failure or any challenging situation? And even if you own the particular challenging situation, how are you approaching the solution? Are you looking to shove things under the carpet and cover up things and losses? Or are you transparent and honest enough to list out the entire problem and making sure that you take ownership of things as a leader or as a teammate and highlight the right remedial approaches? It's important that you also list out whether it was a failure, how you were able to salvage the situation just in case if you were, and how you came about understanding that this would be the right fit solution, whether it's for your customer or your organization. There are many other common questions like, where do you see yourself 3 years from now or 5 years from now? And I have really received answers that are on a spectrum from atrocious to hilarious. But please don't say things like, I see myself in your seat, or while you mean in a right way or in a very positive sense. Not every interviewer is willing to accept that. Make sure you are well prepared for this question as well, where you highlight that you see yourself using your skills in the right way, in the right place, and creating meaningful contributions for the organization that you're working for, and demonstrating leadership if that really helps position yourself. It's important that you understand the question well before you go ahead and answer it. In the end, when the panel has finished asking questions, and more often than not, they would open up the discussion for you to ask a question or two. I have seen candidates shy away from this opportunity, and there have been instances where I have pushed the candidate to ask one question or two questions at least. But what comes out mostly is that the candidate is not prepared with questions, and they have come very, very unprepared, knowing very little about the company. So, the common question that they would ask is, tell me a little bit about your company and what you do, and those kind of things. I would say you can utilize this particular final phase of your interview to create a very good and lasting impression. There could be very important questions that can be asked that really demonstrate other sides of your skills that the interview panel is looking for. I was particularly impressed by one candidate who asked me a question that went like, what are the parameters or qualities that you're looking for when you're hiring for the position that I am applying for? And that led me to give him, insights about whatever I was writing down or what notes I was taking during the interview process. And he went on to ask me about how had he fared in terms of the answers that he had given during the course of the past 1 hour. And I was happy enough to share my insights. I also provided a couple of suggestions, room for improvement, and it kind of left a very good impression for the candidate in my mind. He's a learner for sure, because he's not just standing up and walking away with his head high in the air. One more question that would really fit well in a situation like this is, you start by stating certain projects or technological launches that this particular company has made in the past few months, or new customers acquired, or whatever has been uh, listed on LinkedIn. You start with stating that you know those things, and you could ask questions around how that changes the market positioning of this particular brand or the company in the market. How does that play a big role in growing the company's revenues, and how do they see uh, you know the impact over the next few years? So that kind of gives the interview panel a very, very good sense of your ability to study things and come to the desk prepared. Before you leave from the room, don't forget to thank the interview panel for the time that they've invested. Assure them of your full commitment and passion to learn. Demonstrate one more time that you're a confident individual and willing to take up larger roles and opportunities as your career advances. That's very, very important. That brings us to the third step of the interview preparation process, which is reflect. Go back home, write down everything that you remember from the conversation. Write it down on a piece of paper. The questions asked, the answers you gave, what you could have done better. Were there data points that you could have put across which you did not? Or was there a data point that you picked up about an industry or a market? You may or may not get onboarded by this company, but you could be interviewed by a similar company in a similar market that would help you. The data points would help you secure that job as well. So make a list of whatever reflections you carry away from the interview, and prepare well for the next one as well. I hope you have found value in this particular video. If yes, please share with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe and like this particular video, and make sure that you are reaching out to me with your questions in the comment section as well.